Right now, we are witnessing the collapse of the Harry and Meghan project in real time. In the past few hours, confirmation that they have walked from another charity. Their lives, which were meant to be about humanitarian projects, post-Megxit, are over. And this one will sting. And it will especially sting for the parents of the children who died by suicide, who trusted them with the Parents Network. But Harry and Meghan used those parents for this disastrous CBS News interview. And now, because they're on the bones of their ass, because they've decided to have this disgustingly extravagant lifestyle in Montecito, California, that they cannot afford, because they are burning through the Queen Mother's inheritance, Princess Diana's inheritance, these parents are out of their life, thrown to the wolves. Here's the reporting from Newsweek that says Harry and Meghan to step back from a major project supporting mothers and fathers who have lost a child to online harm. Jack Royston, their royal editor, revealing that it appears to have been quietly handed over to another organisation. You'll remember it was only summer 2024 when they gave CBS News this exclusive interview in which Harry warned of the danger social media poses to children. However, now, Royston reports the Parents Network has been passed over to Parents Together, an organisation that offers resources to parents worried about the impact of digital media on their children. Newsweek understands Archewell has given Parents Together the network's full operational capacity and structure, including systems and processes, as well as brand and creative assets. They've also given a cash grant, but listen to this. It will cover just 1 year. 1 year of the network's first year core operations. So they're washing their hands. And here comes the spin. Here comes the spin that we never believe from Archewell. And Archewell's source telling Newsweek, the transition follows our established model where we incubate initiatives before transitioning them to independent, sustainable organizations. Bullshit. You're absolute liars. You don't want anything to do with these charitable causes because the only charity you give a damn about is feathering your own nest. Oh, and destroying the British royal family too. That's scum. They made us all think that they cared about these parents. Indeed, they were using these parents on CBS simply in order to continue their insane campaign for censorship, against free speech, against technology, because they don't like the fact that we can tell the truth about them. It's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting. These two are grifters who are all about the money, who had the biggest opportunity in the world to turn around other people's lives, and they do not give a damn. And that's why I find it so shocking that King Charles continues this capitulation, and it is a capitulation, to Harry and Meghan. And we've also got big news on that front because there has been a huge war of words behind the scenes between the Daily Mail newspaper in the United Kingdom and Buckingham Palace, resulting in the Daily Mail deleting their so-called scoop about King Charles offering Highgrove up to Harry and Meghan. Slight issue with all of this is that the king might think that this is something he can do, but of course, he no longer officially controls Highgrove. Prince William does. And this was never going to fly. But don't worry, we've got details of the story that they no longer want you to see. As the salty Duchess reported, the Daily Mail have pulled their ridiculous propaganda article. It looks like strongly worded legal letters have been sent from the palace. Daily Mail are un-Sussex-full. And what she's getting at there, and what I think is absolutely true, is that on a constant and consistent basis now, the Sussexes are being able to bounce the king, bounce Buckingham Palace into decisions that they don't want to make, even the British government, when it comes to their security. So let me just take you through this original article, which Tom Sykes of the Royalist Substack, who was able to actually grab the now deleted article for his brilliant show, said faced fierce resistance from Prince. Another day, another suggestion that King Charles III is preparing to make fresh concessions to Harry and Meghan. King Charles will offer Harry and the Duchess of Sussex the use of Highgrove, his private beloved country retreat, should they return to Britain together later this year, a bombshell report claimed. The offer, reported by the Daily Mail, would be a sensational development if it came to pass, as Highgrove is redolent with symbolism as Charles's sanctuary. It also, of course, functioned as one of Harry's main childhood homes. To open its gates to the Sussexes would be confirmation that the king will not be swayed from the project of reconciliation with his son, even if it comes at enormous political cost and in the teeth of opposition from his other son, William, who considers that readmitting Harry to royal circles would be profoundly destabilising to the monarchy. This is what insiders told the Mail in the now deleted piece. There's a good chance that they will stay at a royal residence during a UK stay that includes Invictus events if the current thaw in family relations continues. It would be difficult for the king to refuse to open the 2027 games if his son asked him to. Why? Now, of course, here's the Cotswold estate. It sits inside a permanent security bubble, complete with a no-fly zone, armed police, and even a steel-lined panic room. So for Harry, it would offer him what he has been demanding. But as Sykes goes on, for the king, this is a strategic gamble that goes far beyond summer logistics. Taken together with the king's apparent indulgence of Harry's ongoing security review and the conspicuous decision by Prince William to quietly hire a senior crisis management specialist as the newest member of the PR team, this speculation about Highgrove reads like confirmation that Charles is preparing the ground for rapprochement. Friends of William and much of the British public will be aghast. They see that the Sussexes have extracted concessions from the king without apology or contrition. From that perspective, offering Highgrove looks like capitulation to Harry and Meghan's original ask to be half in, half out of the royal family, which the late Queen Elizabeth explicitly rejected. My sense is that the broader pitch that a reconciliation in such circumstances, father and son reunited on a stage celebrating wounded veterans, is precisely the sort of tableau Harry's team understand is irresistible to the king, and precisely the sort of public embrace William and his allies regard as madness. And I do too. It is madness. The king's camp insists nothing has been agreed, but also have notably declined so far to rule it out. The Doves point out that Charles loves his son, he is battling cancer and acutely aware that time is not on his infinite. He wants to see his grandchildren. He wants, if possible, to heal the rift that will otherwise come to define his reign. From that vantage point, an offer of a bed at Highgrove is not a weakness, but an attempt to take control of events. The direction of travel, hard to ignore if Harry's security is indeed restored, if Meghan returns to Britain for Invictus, if the palace continues to resist shutting down talk of a 2027 joint appearance, then the Highgrove offer will come to look like a logical next step. Whether this latest sally survives contact with public opinion is another matter. The Mail says that William and Catherine will be, quote, watching developments very closely. I suspect that is an understatement, as welcoming Harry back under a royal roof risks entrenching the very fault line that now runs through the House of Windsor between a king who believes in forgiveness as policy and an heir who believes with considerable public support that some bridges are better left burnt. Angela Levin, our royal mastermind, Prince Harry's biographer, with me on these two massive pieces of breaking news today. So, Angela, can we kick off with Harry and Meghan now walking away from the Parents Network? Nothing to do with it, not even a mention on the website, Angela. Did they just use the parents of dead kids for a publicity stunt and have walked away now less than 2 years later?
Yeah, Absolutely, but it's not a surprise because a lot of people didn't join, they didn't follow, and who can blame them? Because if they bring up their children in their way and recommend this with having their faces covered and not showing them to anybody because it might go all wrong. I think that people, even if they've left a child, they've lost a child, they're in terrible state, they don't want that. But also, Meghan, I've listened to Meghan, and particularly when she was with a couple of them, and it's all about her. We've seen this when it's all sorts of things that she does, but she's not interested. She tells them about her and what she does and what she feels, and in all generalization. So it's not helping at all. So I would imagine that they didn't get enough people, which is why they didn't get enough money. And so they've all gone off somewhere else. They won't last even a year, I don't think, because they can't do that. I mean, Harry is slightly better, but he's also no good at it. He can't do it. And actually, they spend their time trying to find some charity that they can hang on to, pretend that they're really caring, but they're not really. They shouldn't be doing charity. They should not be allowed to do charity because they're not charitable.
100%. 100%. And none of the decisions that they make are charitable, Angela. It's always about themselves. And I mean,
Yeah,
we
well,
saw this.
especially
Well, of
Meghan,
course.
all about stuff. And when these things happen, I think the woman helps more than the man. You know, it's one of those things, isn't it? Because you expect that she will know more, but she doesn't make it like that. And I think you see, looking at these two couples, they're ordinary couples. They don't want to sit there and be lectured to. Won't work, you see, not especially when you're crying your eyes out and you've lost a child. I mean, it is just impossible.
But these people put their faith in Harry and Meghan, Angela. And that may
Disgusting.
have been a mistake. And I mean,
Of
of course,
course.
it was a mistake. But the point is, they put their faith in Harry and Meghan, and they
Yeah.
were used by Harry and Meghan, who have now walked away. And it's all well and good talking about Harry and Harry's so called charity. But the thing is, Angela, I mean, we got this briefing to Roy Anika in the Sunday Times over the weekend. Oh, he loves being on the road. He wants to deal with his patronages. No, he loves being away from Meghan and Montecito. But actually, what is he doing charity wise? He's now obviously not a part of Centre Bali. That all blew up. The African Parks is a total disaster. Now nothing to do with the Parents Network either. So what is it? Invictus. That's it.
No, no, there is. He does do a little bit of helping people with mental health issues. You know, he gives advice,
Yeah, and
but
there's the Little
how
Helpers
they
charity,
can,
isn't there? But, not that he
I don't
spends
know.
any time.
Right out of the gate, the narrative collapses. The idea that King Charles can simply offer Highgrove to Harry and Meghan is factually misleading. Control has shifted. Prince William now holds the keys legally and symbolically. This matters because it exposes how media leaks and Sussex-friendly briefings rely on public ignorance of royal structures. Once you understand the hierarchy, the story never flies. This is the central claim, and frankly, it's hard to dispute. Another charity. Another quiet step back. Another project that was meant to define the Sussexes' post-royal purpose gone. The promise was humanitarian leadership. The reality increasingly looks like short-term branding exercises with no long-term commitment. This is where criticism turns morally serious. Parents grieving children lost to online harm were placed front and center, emotionally exposed on CBS News only for the Sussexes to later disengage. Even if the transfer was legal, the optics are brutal. 1 year of funding. Assets handed off. No ongoing stewardship. To critics, this doesn't look like incubation. It looks like abandonment once publicity value expired. Jack Royston's reporting is damning in its details. Yes, Archwell transferred operations, but funding covers just 1 year. No long-term commitment. No public accountability from Harry or Meghan. For a couple who lecture governments and platforms on responsibility, this raises an uncomfortable question. Why doesn't that same standard apply to them? The official Archwell line, "This follows our established model," is met with open disbelief. Because here's the problem. If every Sussex project follows this model, Why do so many end the same way? Critics argue this isn't a strategy, it's a pattern. The transcript pivots to a wider concern that social media activism, charity work, and media appearances are less about safety and more about controlling speech and silencing criticism. This feeds into the growing backlash. People increasingly feel lectured by people who won't accept scrutiny themselves. This is one of the most explosive themes. Why, critics ask, does the king continue to leave doors open even as projects collapse? Accusations mount. Public trust erodes. The word capitulation is harsh, but it reflects a belief that every concession fuels the next demand. This is a crucial moment. A major newspaper pulls an entire scoop after behind-the-scenes pressure. That alone tells you the story wasn't solid. It reinforces suspicions that briefings are being planted. Palace silence is being exploited. Headlines are being used as leverage.
And I don't think people should listen to him. He's not ready for it. He can't do it. Yes, you're right. But he's quite lazy. He doesn't mind doing that. But he's now really bored and he's in trouble and he wants to get money from his father and just start again somehow.
Is he bored, or can he not actually face being at home? He doesn't like to
Both.
be in
Both.
Montecito.
Good question. Both. Both. I mean, if somebody's sort of screaming at you and telling you off and ordering you about, I mean, you don't want to be there all the time, do you? You want to run away. And also, if you try and the person knows how to make you be very upset when you're trying, that's even worse. I mean, she's very, very clever at doing all that, isn't she?
She is. Then, Angela, this deleted scoop from the Daily Mail, who keep being bounced into running Harry and Meghan propaganda. Now, Angela, the king may well think that it's a great idea to have Harry and Meghan in at Highgrove. But isn't this now William's decision? Isn't Highgrove now part of the Duchy of Cornwall?
No, this is ridiculous to have said that. I think it's absolutely ridiculous because there's a big room in there that Camilla took over when Harry left home. It was a long time, several years, 8, 10 years, and he was absolutely incandescent that she was having his room for her clothes. But you don't want to actually rub his nose in it. And I think it's a very bad thing to do, to let him see the room. Secondly, it's got all their private things there. And I don't think they would want Harry and Meghan there, not because I say they would steal anything, but because they'll use it for a documentary. And so that's what's stupid, actually. And it doesn't make any sort of sense. And in the area, the king has got a very tiny sort of little place where he prays. And it's got no lighting, and he only lets in very special people because that's where he thinks about religion and all that sort of thing. You don't want them going in. I mean, you just don't. So it wouldn't be the right place to suggest. And I'm sure he hasn't and William hasn't. It's somebody trying to be clever from somebody who's even cleverer and who made them look silly.
But this is the problem, isn't it, Angela? They keep on being bounced, or keep on trying to bounce, even the British government now, into decisions. Because I've got to take you through this other revelation that actually, after Charlotte Griffiths, who now just operates as a propagandist at the Mail on Sunday for Harry and Meghan, said, it's just absolutely nailed on. Absolutely nailed on. Of course they're going to get their security, and Harry and Meghan are going to get everything they want, and Meghan's going to be back, and it's all because of this terrible stalker, this terrible African female stalker who didn't have any weapons, seemed to have been pictured with Harry and Meghan in the past, but because of her, it's just nailed on. Of course the British government have to give Harry and Meghan all the security they want, and if it doesn't happen, then that's a disgusting thing. Well, according to the Times, not so fast. Reporting from Kate Mansi, their assistant editor, this is significant, by the way. The Times is the newspaper of record, and pretty much she's a stenographer for the palace. It's not decided, despite the Mail's reporting. So this is what she has revealed, Angela. As the Duke of Sussex prepares to return to the UK this month for a high-profile court case, reports have suggested that a decision to reinstate the Duke's police security was nailed on. Sources close to the government process, however, have told the Times that a risk assessment of the Duke has not yet been concluded. Meanwhile, relations between Harry and the palace are once again strained by the suggestion that courtiers could scupper his long-running battle for police protection. After hopes of a reconciliation between Harry and the King, it paints a rather different picture to the scene just 4 months ago at Clarence House when father and son were reunited over a cup of tea. And this is the source close to the process telling the Times, I have no idea what the RMB recommendation will be to Ravik, but what I do know with certainty is that neither does anyone else, since they are still undertaking the review. On that basis, claims that a decision is already nailed on seems, and this is the key line, Angela, more like an attempt to manipulate the media into manifesting an outcome from what will be a fair and rigorous review, but one that is very much ongoing. Whoever is behind them must not realise how transparent and counterproductive to proper process that is. So, of course, that's a major government slight to Harry and Meghan, but this is the problem with Harry and Meghan. They do what they want. They don't give a damn about process. They don't give a damn who they railroad over.
But
Kate Mansi goes on to say, sorry, Angela, let me just quickly finish what Kate Mansi reports. She says, those close to the palace have denied that an intervention from the palace could be organised to scupper the process. A former royal aide said that is an entirely familiar and predictable narrative, but one that is both unjust and inaccurate. The palace has no such powers within Ravik. While they sit on the committee, it is not their role to advise on threat analysis or appropriate mitigations. That is for the actual intelligence and security experts to advise on, as of course they do whenever the Duke's visits to the UK are being reviewed under the existing Ravik process. Yet when a decision goes against the Duke, it is claimed to be an anti-establishment stitch-up. So, Angela, sorry, it was just important to have that context because fundamentally, you've got the government and the palace now saying to the Times, this is just a point-blank lie. Harry's lied about the process. He's lied about the reality that he's definitely going to get the security, and he's also lied about the fact that it's down to the King if he does not. And it's a disgusting way for him to treat his father. But again, I just look at all of this, Angela, and think, so why the hell does Charles keep capitulating to this man?
Well, I know from experience back when I was doing books that they know that Harry is going to come up with something that has already been done and tied up. Right? This is what he says. And if somebody does that with some help behind him from newspapers, then everyone thinks that that's what's happening. They think it's a reality, but it's not. But he does that. He absolutely does that. He pretends all these things have happened when they haven't. And he also says when he's saying, I can stay, I can do this, he's going to give me Highgrove. All this stuff is absolute nonsense. It's completely disgusting. But he's worked out that if he keeps on going and saying, this has happened, this has happened, this has happened, then it's very difficult for people to say, well, it hasn't. So they then start thinking, well, maybe we should do a little bit. Well, of course not. They can't cope with him. And I think for the staff, it's absolutely very, very difficult. They are very nice, very kind. They don't go shouting. They try and behave with good manners throughout. But actually, sometimes they don't need good manners. They need to sort of say, they shout like you, and that would be different. It's very, very awkward because there is a prince or someone like him, and they try to get the deal through without causing too much trouble. They don't want big rows. And we also know that if they do something and Harry or somebody else, mainly him, doesn't like it, he can complain about them. It's very, very difficult. It goes back to when Harry was taking a lot of drugs when he was at school. And they say to the people who are looking after him, protecting him, why don't you say something? This is terrible. He's under terrible things he's taking. We want to do it to his father, but we can't, because Harry says that if we do tell him, he will say it's nonsense and they'll get taken their job away from them. And that's what happens. Do you see what I mean? That sort
No,
of
I do.
strategy.
I absolutely do. But the problem with what he's doing here, Angela, is saying, if I don't get my way, it's Papa's fault. It's just awful. It's
Yes,
awful. It's
it
like,
is.
Yes. Number one, it's not true. Number two, your father's got cancer. Number three, your father is bending over backwards to try and make things right between you. And I'm just with William on this. No, I'm just with William, Angela.
But what he's done as well is that he has complained enormously about his father not dealing with the government to stop something for him. He can't do that. He doesn't do that. It's not his job as a monarch. He's just not. So he can't do it. He knows that very well, but he wants to make it so his father looks responsible for it, which is the cruelest thing ever, isn't it? And also when he turns up and wants to see his father, and his father's busy or he's not well, or he was recovering after some doctor's training, and he would feel very, very angry that he's not talking to him straight away. But why should he? You know, he's got lots of things to do. So he blames his father, and he's also knows that he can hurt his father by talking about Camilla unpleasantly. And I think that Meghan pushes him on because I don't think she minds about telling a truth or not telling a truth. And he can't handle it, you see, but he's worn out from it. But he's a fool to have got there in the first place.
He really is. And then Angela... I mean, this is almost hilarious. You know, apparently, you know, Meghan's raking in 27 million as if, but she is launching a bookmark. Angela, this is what's going to save her and save the absolute disaster. A bookmark. There it is.
Yep.
An as ever bookmark. I mean, seriously. And
what
look,
have we come to? What have we come to?
Well, I mean, as she thinks this bookmark is going to save her, I've got another conclusion. But anyway, here's the spin, Angela. As ever, by Meghan, has partnered with Godmother's Books. That is the little bookshop in Montecito to create a bookmark. You can now shop their Honeydew on Leather Bookmark Holiday Bundle exclusively at Godmother's Books for a limited time. I mean, come on, this business is just over, isn't it, Angela? Just over.
Yes.
But look, it's also over at the moment between Meghan and her own mother. So what we're going to do, Angela, there's a lot on this actually, because it's two words. Two words have really deepened this ongoing feud. We've reported it for a long time, but it's got a lot worse between Meghan and Dory. We're going to get into all of this.
Here the fault line is clear. Charles believes in reconciliation, forgiveness, legacy. William believes in boundaries, stability, and consequences. This isn't personal bitterness, it's a clash of governance philosophy. And public opinion appears increasingly aligned with William. The reporting from the Times lands like a hammer. Claims that security reinstatement is nailed on are described as an attempt to manipulate the media into manifesting an outcome. That is an extraordinary accusation, and one coming from sources close to government process. If true, it suggests pressure politics, not victimhood. Angela Levin's contribution reinforces a long-held critique. Performative empathy. Self-centered engagement. Short attention spans for actual charity work. Whether you agree or not, her comments echo what many viewers already feel. This no longer looks authentic. This is where sympathy shifts. Critics argue that publicly blaming a cancer-stricken father for outcomes beyond his control crosses a line morally and emotionally. Even those once sympathetic now ask, at what point does personal grievance become cruelty? The as ever bookmark becomes symbolic. Not because of its price, but because of what it represents, a once global platform reduced to novelty lifestyle products. To critics, this isn't entrepreneurship. It's brand desperation. By the end, The picture is bleak. Charities exited. Media credibility questioned. Family rifts deepening. Public patience thinning. What began as a new chapter now looks like a slow unraveling. Now over to you. Do you believe Harry and Meghan genuinely cared, or were these charities always PR vehicles? Is King Charles right to keep extending olive branches, or is William right to draw firm lines? Has the Sussex brand finally run out of credibility? Drop your honest opinion below. Like if you think accountability matters. Share if the media narrative is finally shifting. Subscribe for fearless royal commentary. This debate is far from over, and the comments are where the real story unfolds.